We are
For
now
once.
we're now live, like on time and everything.
Go us.
For once.
Look, it's a leap day miracle.
It is a leap day
Yeah,
miracle.
it's a leap day miracle. Do you?
Welcome
by the way,
to a leap day stitch and bitch. We'll see if you ever get another one of these.
Yeah, the next one would be in 8 years.
No, 4.
4 years.
4?
4.
It's leap day, but I don't know if it's going to be on a Saturday
Yeah.
Yeah.
or Sunday.
Okay, I always thought that it was 8 years.
No, it's 4. Because
I
all of
know
the weird
nothing
things
of
happen
leap
every
years.
4 years. It's always a leap year, American elections, and the Summer Olympics. Always in the same year.
Yep.
Really?
Oh.
I never knew that.
Huh.
Yep. Basically every time. Oh, Shannon's here. Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
So,
Yeah. I completely blanked out for a moment there. Just like I was having a thought, and then you know that feeling when you're having a thought sometime, and then you just feel it evaporating from your brain.
yeah.
You're like, no, come back.
Yeah, it's like reaching out, like, no, come back.
So we should probably go around and do introductions for anybody who is watching this who's new. I'm Bree. My channel is Bree Reads Books. And I'm a big science fiction reader. Someone wants to go next and introduce themselves.
I can. My name is Rachel. My channel is Colonati, and I'm supposed to be reading science fiction, but I'm reading everything but science fiction right now. At least that's how it feels like.
I'm Diana. My channel is Bookish Die, and I normally read fantasy and science fiction, but I instead have been playing Dragon Age.
Legit. So hi, I'm Reija, and my channel is The Bookfinch, and I read a variety of things. Lately, I've been in a huge comics and manga binge, which is once again why I have to split my wrap up for the next month, because I read a lot of comics, like a huge ton. Like, what is happening?
Anything good? Like, what are some of the highlights?
A Man and His Cat.
I was just going to say, I was watching your review of that yesterday, and I thought, man, I need to get that from the library.
It's the best.
Is it?
Is it a standalone single volume, or is it a series?
It's a series, but basically it's like these short stories that like connect and have an overarching theme.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the first volume works completely as a standalone, but there's going to probably be like a progression and overarching theme of the whole series that goes forward. But it was so cute. I was crying. I've read it like 3 times now, the whole thing. And my partner read it too. And we were both like, I need to hug my cats now. Like it was so, because the way that it starts is that there's this cat who has grown up in a pet store, and he's like the only adult cat there, and nobody wants to buy him because he's an adult, and everyone thinks that he's ugly because he's not a cute kitten. And the cat is like super depressed and stuff, and then this widower comes and buys him, and like it's so cute. And I cried so many times. And like, if you are a cat owner or just like, your heart must be made of stone if you don't feel the tug in the heartstrings when reading this, because oh my god,
it sounds, oh my gosh, I had a moment. Sorry, I was in the middle of a sentence and then I thought I had been crocheting with the tail of my yarn instead of like the main yarn, and I almost had like a little weird brain moment. Sorry. This sounds so cute though, Rhea.
Yeah, it's super like sweet, and the art style is very like that. It's kind of like, I described it as very like romantic in my review, because it has like these soft lines, and like it's cute, and it's adorable. If you read like one manga in your whole life, I think that would be a good thing to go, because it's not like you don't need to like understand a lot of like cultural things. It's very like what's the word, like
Contained.
word. Yeah, but also like I think it's like culturally ambiguous in a sense that like I think that you could it works for like anyone, because it's kind of universal. Universal is kind of like of course it has that like distinctly like it's from Japan, there's Japanese culture, but it's not like you don't have to like have full on like complete knowledge of everything of Japanese society and hierarchies and like honorifics and stuff to be able to like understand like what's going on, and it's super sweet. I'm definitely getting the next volume too, because it's like I can't. I was like crying into Tesla's fur, like I love you. You're the only one who lets me hug me this way.
Aww. Has anyone else been reading any comics or graphic novels, I guess?
I finally read the first volume of Pretty Deadly. I've owned it for too many years, and I finally got around to reading it, and it's really good. Amaria's art is gorgeous, so I checked out the second volume from the library to finally read as well.
Nice.
Is Pretty Deadly still an ongoing series? I remember it being a couple of years ago.
Kind of. It's not ongoing like Wicked and Divine or like some of the other series. It's more of like several mini, like the story being told through several mini series. So the first volume was The Shrike, and the second volume is Pretty Deadly, the Rat. And there's a third mini series going on right now, which is The Bear. Maybe, I don't know. I can't remember what the third one is, but it's happening right now.
I remember reading the first volume of that when it first came out, and could not make sense of the story at all, but the character designs just looked iconic.
Yeah, and the art is beautiful.
It is, yeah. I was like reading it thinking, I can imagine people cosplaying these characters, even if I don't understand the story.
Yeah,
I love a good character design.
I had to reread the first part a couple of times just to get a sense of it, because they do just kind of drop you in without a lot of context. So it's really up to the reader to look at, like, to pay attention and to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I also read like the first volume of Ascender this month, and
it's sold out at my comic store, and
my library bought like 3 copies, so it like I assume that they kind of figured out that since Descender was very popular, so they stocked up on a few extra volumes for Ascender.
I would go to the library and get it, but I know I'm going to want it in my collection because I have all of the Descender ones. And
then I probably shouldn't share my opinion because I was kind of like it's like I feel like it's probably going to be better in the next volumes. Like it's gonna explain the progression of how the world changed.
Got where it is.
Yeah, but because it didn't do that in the first volume, I was like kind of, okay, but how does this work? Where did all these people come from?
Okay.
Why are things the way they are? And it kind of got annoying because there were these like major people like doing stuff, and I was like, okay, but why should I care about you? Who are you? What are you even doing here?
Yeah. You don't even go here.
Like, get out!
I did read Mooncakes. I think that's the most recent comic I've read.
How was that?
It was pretty good.
Actually, I'm gonna see if my library has that.
Very
I should probably check mine as well.
But I am also like, it is adorable, homey feeling witch story, and that's like teen witch coming into her own, and that is exactly something that I am just I'm fodder.
Your brand.
Yeah, it's very on brand.
Yeah, my library has it. Only one volume or only one book, and it's already got like 10 holes.
My library has it too. Reserve.
Reserve.
Yeah.
It's basically like every time I'm watching booktube videos, it's me having my library like website open and just typing in titles and seeing whether I can put a hold on them or not.
I feel like I can always tell when anybody goes on like booktube and like on a booktube watching binge, because I just watch them take over my Goodreads feed with turning something.
I mean last time I watched Rachel's like weekly wrap up, and I could probably like tell that my Goodreads feed was just like books from that video suddenly. Like, I wonder what video she was watching.
I always feel like that. I can tell when like Elizabeth drops a book haul, because I don't even have to know that like something's happened, but suddenly like 45 people are changing. Like, I'm like, oh my God, who dropped it? It's Thomas or it's Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see if Ascender is on Hoopla, but it won't let me log into Hoopla. I don't understand why.
No.
No, it worked this time.
I've also been listening to Under the Pendulum Sun.
Yes.
How is that?
How do you like it?
It's very atmospheric. It's a little slow going.
Yeah, it's very
It's a slow build.
It's very slow build, but I also think like you need to pay attention to every little detail in that book, because like there's so much payoff later for like all the little tidbits.
Is there
like,
going to be another one?
It's a standalone. It's basically like, it's definitely a standalone, but I could see how Jeanette Ing would be able to bring more stories in that world.
Right, that's kind of how I've been.
For those characters, it's pretty much like done.
I kind of adore Mr. Benjamin and his sweet little gnome heart.
Yeah, he's very much, he tries so hard though.
He tries very hard.
He tries very hard, like he tries to be a good Christian fae.
Yeah.
which is an oxymoron if I ever saw one.
So that has been I've been listening to it on audio, and I have 3 hours left, but I have to clean my whole house tonight because my in-laws are coming over. So I have plenty of listening time.
Yeah, I'm like, so Anna says that mooncakes in the Finnish library is just been ordered, so it's not even in yet, and people are putting holds on it, so better get my hold in now. And that means that it's gonna be forever since it arrives, which is basically what I've been doing with like the Motocross Volume 3. I'm in the hold line, and the book and the volume has been ordered, but they recently pushed the release date back, so now I have to wait even longer.
No.
It's like, but I want my cyberpunk lesbians on motorcycles, please. I want them.
What else are people reading?
I'm currently reading Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky, and it's good. My brain has not been able to focus on reading like this.
That's one of the Riordan books. Like
yeah.
They just released a cover for the second one in that series.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about the second one because it's dealing with like the aftermath of the stuff that happened in the first book, and I'm always like really interested in like aftermathy type books.
Yeah.
And so like I said, I've been enjoying it. It's just my brain has not been in a
Your brain has been on Dragon Age.
Well, my brain has been on Dragon Age, and it's just been in a place where it's been hard to focus on things. So I'm hoping to maybe finish it today after I go grocery shopping.
Okay.
Hi, buddy.
You're a kitty?
Yeah, I have a kitty. I have a Luke.
And Luke.
It's a Luke.
Luke, say hi.
Oh my god, he's turned into a little chunk.
He's not. No, Luke is still skinny. His sister's a chunk.
That's why I said a little chunk. Leia is like a chunker or a chunkette.
Luke is still skinny. He's still a skinny, lanky boy.
Aww.
Yeah. Like I read today that for cats, in the social hierarchy of cats, if a cat is grooming another cat, then the cat who is grooming is like socially higher up than the cat who is being groomed.
And does that mean I'm at the bottom of my social, like my cat social life? Because my Soren grooms the little cat who likes to like groom my feet.
You're the bottom rung. You're the bottom of the tier. Like I noticed this because it makes sense because when Tesla is like grooming MOSFET, if MOSFET tries to groom Tesla back, Tesla will try to bite him.
Oh no.
No, you don't know. That's not how this goes. And at first I was like, but why is MOSFET not grooming Tesla? Is something wrong? Like, what is happening here? No, it's just apparently cats like to do it that way. And also, interestingly, bunnies have the opposite way. So a bunny who is being groomed is the boss. So that's why apparently cats and bunnies get along well, because they're both getting to be the boss, so to speak, in those social interactive situations.
Oh my gosh.
It's fascinating.
This makes me so happy about Wally and Bun Bun. And it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Are they friends?
They're very like they hang out together all the time. Like Wally loves it in the bunny room.
Now you know. They're both
now I know.
We need like a more you know banner to use.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can make one. It won't be as good as.
Too bad we can't get a rainbow on it or something.
I know. Hold on. Let me try this though.
Oh, nice. That was nice.
But yeah, I also read. Ah, shit! It's rain. I'm so sick of the rain. I moved to the wrong state. No, it's hailing. Shit.
At least you're getting some like snow adjacent like.
I have to go grocery shopping today. I don't want this. But I also read a nonfiction book this month. It was Start by Believing, which is about the Larry Nassar case, and it's like dark but also good.
Okay.
Like it was weird because I haven't really been able to focus on reading a whole lot, but I went through that one pretty quickly.
I've been struggling with reading a little bit as well. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
No problem. I mean, I've been reading a lot of like comics and short fiction. I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold by, oh my God, I'm totally blanking on the author name now. Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Yes. And it was interesting. It's basically about a cafe where if you sit in a specific chair, you can travel back in time. And you can only meet people who have been to the cafe, and you can't leave the chair while you're time traveling. And it's about a bunch of people going like traveling in time in order to get closure basically on things, and to like it has a lot of themes of like tackling with like grief and like things left unsaid and stuff. So it's about getting like closure.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, like I feel like because I've been inundated with like Japanese movies, Japanese drama, anime, manga for the past like 2 decades. So I know a lot of like storytelling tropes that are very like particularly Japanese. So it felt very like tropey in that sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's also like it's basically a novelization of a stage play. So I was constantly like picturing in my mind how it would work.
Yeah, that does seem like it would translate really easily to stage.
Yeah, so it was very like I would want to say like cinematic in a sense, because I was constantly picturing like, oh, how would this look like in a like a set and stuff. So it was interesting. Like it's not like the bestest super duper like awesomest book I ever read, but it was interesting. It was like thought provoking. So I would recommend it.
Well, this is interesting. How did you find the gender stuff in Before the Coffee Gets Cold? I know someone who really hated it over that, so I've not been.
Yeah, it's very conservative. It's very conservative. Also very Japanese. Like you have to go in with the understanding that Japan is a very hierarchical and patriarchal society, and there's also that idea that basically the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. So basically, conforming to society's norms is like the done thing. So people don't necessarily confront the issues, because that would be kind of going against the grain of what society expects of you. So not a lot of people are very openly speak up about issues. That's why a lot of like, if you compare like feminist theory of the West, or basically the English speaking world, to like feminist theory in Japan, they are fighting for like very different things basically. Because it's interesting to compare and contrast those things.
Rachel, what are you reading?
I'm in the middle of Interference by Sue Burke.
Is it as good as the first?
It's different in that it's like a dual narrative, and half of it goes back to Earth, at least in the beginning. And I've been kind of paused on really getting into it, because the first chapter, which is set on Earth, is like basically after the end of the world, after a pandemic, an intentional poisoning basically of the world's population kind of destroys the world. Everything is reverted to a super patriarchal society again. And I just found it a little bit disturbing when I started reading it.
I liked Interference, though. I really liked it.
I'm sure I'm going to really like the book.
It's a very different beast from Semiosis, though.
Yeah.
Like in terms of format, and in terms of like it basically, like if Semiosis is about communication and like finding common ground, then Interference, definitely the main theme is about information bias and how that affects how you view the people around you, and how you try to communicate, how you approach communication when you have a complete bias against said individual, which is very interesting.
I'll have to keep that in mind as I continue to get into it, because I do think it's going to be very different, and I shouldn't expect it to be the same thing as Semiosis, because then I'll be disappointed.
But I also feel like the very last chapter of the book, which I won't obviously tell you what it is, but the very last chapter of the book was so good. Like it was basically like a mini story in and of itself, and it was like wonderful. And I feel like that tied the whole thing. Like I was kind of like, okay, this is good, but like okay, like I'm liking this, I'm enjoying this, but it's not like the greatest thing ever. And then the final chapter hit, and I was like, what? And then I just put it on the Hugo ballot.
I didn't finish before Hugo Noms closed, because I do have it on my list to consider. So, but yeah.
Okay. Oh man, there's so many things that I need to read in the next couple weeks.
I have to say, this is the first year of where I've basically given up trying to do previous year's reading before Hugo nominations.
I kind of stopped playing catch up.
Yeah. And usually when the Nebula shortlist comes out, I rush out to try to read a lot of stuff on that shortlist because there's so much crossover with the Hugos, and I'm not even bothering this year. I'm not. And a lot of the short fiction on the Nebula ballot is not freely available. So I'm not going to go out and read that right now either.
Which one?
Just the short fiction categories.
Yeah.
So.
I do think, Shannon, that Escaping Exodus is eligible.
It came out in
it is.
2019, I think August or July-ish, so it definitely is eligible.
Yeah, it was a summer read or a summer book.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be an interesting year. I
feel like since the con is like almost a whole month earlier than Dublin was.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2 weeks.
So that actually affects how the Hugo noms were like. It seems earlier and earlier, but I think next year, because the discom is going to be in like late August, that it's probably going to be later again next year.
I will say for next year in DC, be prepared for crushing humidity. I'm very excited. I'm planning on.
I'm prepared. We have that here.
But that's like.
It is like walking through a swamp.
Like you feel every inch that former swamp that DC used to be in the summer. Like that's the one.
I've been to Singapore, and there's no place on earth that has more humidity than Singapore. It's like when you go outside there, it's like walking into a brick wall. So you just want to constantly switch between indoor spaces.
It makes me sad that it's going to be in the summer, only because like DC in the spring when the cherry blossoms are out is so pretty and it smells fantastic, and it
does, but it's also teeming with even more so than in the summer.
That's true.
And like it's its own brand of
It was so funny to me because I was like, okay, next year for sure I will be in a nice DevOps consulting position, and I will be making money, so I will be able to go to DC without stress. And partner was like, can I come too? Like, am I allowed to come?
Be like, no.
They've been so jealous of the whole New Zealand thing. Like I showed them some of the preparations that we've done for the trip, and they were like, I'm not jealous at all.
Oh my gosh, Zach is so excited.
I'm sad I can't go, but had already committed to Star Wars Celebration.
Which is fair. Side note, I thought about you this week. So my partner's parents are moving, and so they cleared out all sorts of stuff in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I can appropriately show this one. We have all of his old kid toys and stuff.
Oh no.
We have
Are they cool?
Numerous 1,000-piece.
Oh.
I mean, it is a Y-Wing, and Y-Wings are trash, but that's still awesome.
Hold on, you'll like this one more.
That's amazing. I'm so jealous.
They're like taking up my entire like living room right now with all of these like Lego sets from when he was like 10.
I mean, I recently went to the store and I noticed that like the My Little Pony company, which I don't remember, is it Hasbro or Mattel?
I
Anyway,
think it's Mattel, but I can
anyway, they have released Generation 1 pony replicas basically for like, and I was like, my childhood has come back, and I was like, I want to buy every single one, and my partner was like, no, you don't need ponies. You don't need ponies. You have like dolls and figurines out the wazoo. You're not buying any more stuff. And I'm like, but I
Rhea,
wanna.
Rhea, have you ever watched Bob's Burgers?
No.
Okay, because there's an episode.
I know the series. It's just like Bob's Burgers is on the same vein as Rick and Morty. I know that the humor would probably work for me, but it's aesthetically it looks like trash. So I can't watch it. It's like it hurts my soul because the art style is so bad. So I just can't.
This makes me sad because one, I feel like you would love Tina.
Yeah, you would.
Tina would be up your alley. Also, there's an episode I was just about to say because if you haven't, you should watch the Brony episode, which is
maybe I can watch like the one just to know what the show is all about. Like you may try to convince me although like to like it. I'm ready. I'm open-minded, but just from seeing like GIFs and short clips, I'm like, the art style though.
I can understand that. That's a legitimate thing. I just want to be like, you would love Tina.
I'm like complete anime trash anyway. Like there's a certain kind of animation aesthetic that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm open-minded to different styles because on the one hand I really like the style of like Steven Universe, for example. That's super kind of stylized, simplified. And also like Hilda. Super cute. So it's not like I'm like all about that hyper realistic like or like that anime look, but there's just something. I think it's my abhorrence to things like Beavis and Butthead. So if the art style reminds me of like the Beavis and Butthead thing, I get like an allergic reaction in my brain.
Oh man. Is everyone following the BookTube SFF Awards?
Yes.
Yes. I just finished listening to the test last week.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I also like had a conversation with Angela from Literary Science Alliance on Discord about it. We just DM'd each other back and forth like, I don't know what's happening. It was really intense. Like once you start listening to it, especially on like audio, the audiobook narration, like Neil Shaw is his name. He's like magnificent when it comes to like different voices and accents and like delivery. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, it was like a one-man army doing like all the voices and stuff. And I was definitely like believing that he was all of the different characters. And once you start it, it's like, okay, he's taking a test. Okay, is this it? And then it starts escalating, and you're like I got so many heart palpitations. It was unreal.
I'm going to try that one, even though I have very much disliked Nouvelle's other work. So.
Yeah, I mean, I basically thought that I've only read. Sleeping Giants, the first one.
Yeah.
I've only read that one by Nouvelle, and I still maintain that it is one of those popcorny books where you're like, okay, I'm enjoying the story, and then you forget it like 2 hours after you've read it, because there's not like a lot of substance in it. It's very much like that, like action-packed, like it reads like a sci-fi movie in a sense.
A bad sci-fi movie.
Yeah, like a
you're talking about
middling
Giants, because,
mediocre
yeah.
one.
I've never read it, and I got turned off of it because I remember the book Smuggler's Review. They're like, how could a book with this premise be so boring?
That's
Well,
kind of how I felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I basically think that I had to do a lot of like work for the book too. Like as a reader, I had to do like a lot of work, like in terms of analysis to make it work for me. And I was like, but if you are an average like reader and you're not like that into like picking apart words, you're probably not going to find that much substance from it. And also the way women are depicted in that book. oh yeah, no, that's nah. That's not how we are about.
Anyway, I plan on reading most of the stuff from the BookTube SFF. How many Fs were in that? Shortlist, except for fantasy, I think. Fantasy and YA. Just not super appealing to me this year. But middle grade is. I really
Middle grade's super appealing.
I'm excited. I've actually read 2 of the middle grade ones.
I knew you would be happy when that one
Sal and Gabby.
Yeah, I was really happy to see. That was one I nominated, and like, it definitely reads a little different than what you're used to with the Rick Riordan books because of it not necessarily being like gods and everything, but it's more like cultural mythology.
I actually really like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I really like that. Plus, the whole multiverse idea is really interesting for me as well.
Yeah. I'm like the YA category. I was like, okay, Brandon Sanderson and Holly Black. I'm like, nope. I'm okay with not having to read any of those. I'm like, I've made my peace with the fact that I am never going to pick up a single Brandon Sanderson book. I've made and I don't feel sorry, and I'm just like people are always like it's not just about him having like a ton of books like all the time,
and that they're bricks.
Yeah, it's not just about that, but I also like. So here's the thing. I'm not going to go into that whole Brandon Sanderson homophobia debacle because like it's been done to death. But as a person who is queer, I would rather not support an author even though he's made strides in acceptance if I don't know if he still actually supports the Mormon Church financially.
Yeah,
because if he does, then even though he's like in his work supports the cause, but if he's putting money towards places that are actively harming to the community, then I don't want to touch that,
Yeah, that's kind of how I am with a lot of Mormon authors, where it's like you could have like progressive stuff in your books, but if you're paying the tithe to the church, it's
yeah.
Ava, what are you doing?
Ava's like, I just want to see Bree.
I think the mailman just came. Oh no, now all the dogs outside are going.
I have never felt and dogs.
What?
I don't know. I have never felt more like just like more domestic than when I realized I know the exact time that my mailman comes and I know how long it takes for him to park across the street, go around the block, and get to my house.
Because all of the dogs are barking?
No, because I work from home and so I see it.
Oh, so you're
so like barking. I'm like, oh, mailman's here. 30 minutes until he gets to my house.
there was the people who used to live across the street from me, they don't live there anymore, but they had like 3 little dachshunds, cute little dachshunds, and I could always tell 10 minutes before my mailman arrived because as he would walk by their house, the dachshunds would go off and they have a very distinctive bark, and I was like, 10 minutes from now, somebody's calling me. My dad's calling me. Hang on one second.
Sounds good.
It was actually like really fun. One time, the mailman was coming, and I could hear we have this little like metal slot where the post gets slid into our apartment. God damn it! My partner is also calling me. 1 sec.
I don't know where my phone is.
My phone is here, but my family knows me well enough not to call me.
Well, I always assume that like if somebody is calling me and it's not my mother, like somebody should be dead.
Literally the only person who like consistently calls is my best friend Megan, and that's because Megan is like, one, a huge extrovert, and two, is like one of those people who doesn't mind talking on the phone.
Combination of things I am not.
Yeah, so like she's the only one who regularly call me. My Grammy will FaceTime me.
Oh, that's so cute. We should talk about 10,000 Doors of January.
I haven't read that.
I want to read that. I'm like the 19th person in the hold line from the library.
I actually own it, I think. I think I got it on an ebook sale at the end of the year, just like on a whim. And I also actually have an arc that I picked up at ALA that I just never got around to reading. Puppy!
Oh, it's a pupper!
It's a pupper!
Yeah, I was rudely interrupted by the phone.
Sorry.
My phone also rang. So the mailman was sliding a thing through the slot, and I heard it, and I ran to the door and grabbed it, and he yelled at me from the other side, "Just wait! I'm pushing it in. Just wait!" And I was like, "Sorry." I was so put out by it.
Oh my goodness.
What are you looking at me for? Look at them.
Shannon asks if you have thoughts on 10,000 Doors January.
Oh, I'm interested more to hear other people's thoughts because I know that it's
Kelsey has a very good review of it, I think.
I haven't seen her review of it yet. I enjoyed parts of it.
Either she has a review of it on a wrap up or a single review, but like I know for a fact that I've heard her talk about it, or was it a dream? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
That's a dream, though. Like, did it happen or did I dream it up?
Mine is sometimes this is embarrassing. Sometimes I'll be like doing something, I'll be like, Rachel would say X to me. And then I like proceed to have an imaginary conversation with people in my head. And there have been more than one time where I'm like, remember when you were talking to me about X, Y, and Z and we had this conversation? And someone was like, no. And I was like, I definitely made that up in my head.
Yeah, I've had those times as well. Or like I do this thing where if I go to a shop, like recently Fatser released a new candy set, and I went to the store, saw it, and I'm like, I'm sure my friends would like these candies. Too bad I can't bring them to New Zealand.
So what's next up then for folks?
I need to figure out. I think I need to stop making TBRs because I think I get like really stressed, or like monthly TBRs and just kind of wing it, because I think part of the problem is I'm going to read X books this month, and then like if there's no readathon or something, I get stressed out when I don't actually read those books, and then it like screws me over.
I try to always keep mine short because I know that if it's like one or two things or three things for sure, then I can do that. But if I'm like, here's the 7 books I'm gonna read, and then I'm like, I read 2 of these.
Yeah. I mean, I did pretty well with my January TBR. I read like 3 of the books in January, and then I read one in February. So I've only got like 1 left from the January TBR. So now I feel confident that when we play the March TBR Jenga, that I can do another 5. So
good. I'm
just hoping that I win this time. It'd be nice to get to choose some of my own reads.
Rachel, how big is your blanket now?
It's actually as big as the last time I showed you guys. I have not worked on it in like 2 months.
That's the 2019 one, right?
Yeah, I've got 20 more books to add to it, so I'm pretty close to being done. So yeah.
Nice.
It looks really good. I need to start on my 2021.
I've started.
I decided that I'm just gonna skip.
What stitch are you using?
Double moss stitch.
Okay.
It
looks really good on the camera. Like it reads very well.
Yeah, I didn't want to do like just a regular moss stitch because like that thing is the most annoying thing in the world, especially if you're just doing it repetitively.
Yeah.
But I found a pattern in a book that was basically you make scarves and then you sew the scarves together to make a blanket.
Ooh.
And so I'm modifying it because the original pattern had it like 190 squares, which I'm not reading 190 books. And then it also was 2 rows of the blocks, and that would just be like in a scarf, and that would just be really hard for me to do as a book blanket.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just doing, I think I'm going to do 10 books in a row.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this will be much more manageable than my gigantic book Scarf of Doom.
I love that Celia from Celia Reads watched our Stitch and Bitches, and she decided to make a reading blanket, and she's been making like granny squares that have the color schemes for each granny squares are inspired by the book cover colors.
Oh,
that's really cool.
I like that.
Yeah, and she's been doing. I've been following her progress on Instagram, and I'm like, yes, like I can like vicariously live through her because I just can't. I just can't commit to the book blanket. Maybe next year I will do it. I'm still working on my Hufflepuff scarf.
I didn't do one this year because I've got so many other big things I wanted to make, and I would rather do something that I can predict how much yarn I'm going to need, because with this thing, I've got all these little
scraps
bits of yarn left over, and yeah.
I do want to make like a virus shawl from the from the mint colored yarn that I got from like Worldcon, and then maybe buy a new yarn from New Zealand to go with the UV rainbow colored yarn that I have, and make the dragon scale gloves out of those. But we shall see.
I found, so there's a yarn subscription box that it's quarterly, and it's called Fandom Fibers.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and they just released the what it looks like for their first quarter yarn, and it's Mulan based.
Ooh.
And it looks
Mulan as in like the new animated movie or the new one?
The new one.
Oh.
Please tell me it's like red and gold, because that would be my favorite.
No, it's red and green and like purple and white. It looks really pretty, and I found a shawlette pattern that I think I can do with that has some basic cabling, which is something I need to learn how to do.
Is this Etsy? Like an Etsy subscription box?
No, it's here, I'll drop it in the public chat.
So I have heard rumors that there's going to be maybe some different yarns for like, they're starting to maybe think about doing some yarns for bids.
Ooh.
I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I heard rumors that some of the bids are thinking about doing yarns.
Like the Worldcon bids?
Yeah.
So you need to tell us more about the dealers in New Zealand, because we want to know if they're going to be yarn.
I want to know if there is going to be a yarn person.
Yes.
In New Zealand.
I feel like it had to have been such a, like, Third Vault Yarns had to have had such a good showing at Worldcon.
I mean, she lamented the fact that
because she sold out in like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Well, it was a couple of hours, because we got there about 4 hours into the first day, and she was almost completely out.
Yeah. And she lamented the fact that she didn't bring enough, and she thought that she was bringing a lot, but then people just like, she had to open the for the convention specific yarn, she had to open the pre-order thing.
Yeah, she had to.
Site.
I have 2 of the skeins of the yarn that she reopened the pre-order for, because I couldn't get it there, so I caved and I bought.
Not pre-ordering that, like getting some, but I got so much yarn on that trip.
I still haven't used all the yarn I got on that trip.
I have used all but about 90 grams of everything that I bought, I think. Oh, no, wait. I still have one of the Third Vault yarn skeins. That I
finally found a pattern that I think will match the amount of yarn that I got for from the pre-order that she reopened up, because I got 2 skeins. And so I think it's going to wind up being like this little short sleeve, like peplum deal that I think will look really cute.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
Shannon is asking, have you guys looked up yarn shops in New Zealand you want to go to? And yes, I have compiled a list of yarn shops in all of the towns that we are going, so we can pick and choose the ones we...
Are we going to do like yarn shopping on the road trip, or in like Wellington? Or both?
Possibly both, because like in Wellington, I already have compiled a list of like 5 shops. And one of them is like this huge, like the biggest yarn shop in like New Zealand.
Ooh.
In Wellington. That's in like 2 floors.
So
and stuff.
I'm gonna bring a bag just for yarn.
Oh my god!
The nice thing about having friends who are so organized is that I can just trust you guys to figure out where we're going, and then I can just be like, "Yeah, no, we're going places."
Well, you're the one driving us there, so.
Right, but like that's fine. I'll drive. You just tell me where to go.
But, it was actually really funny because in my neighborhood is the biggest yarn shop in Finland. It's like 5 minutes from my house. And,
so lucky. I have to drive an hour to the.
Yeah, they're in 2 floors, and like they have everything, and they're constantly appropriating other like premises of the mall. Like they started as this 1 floor little shop, and now they've just expanded like a monster that consumes other small businesses and makes them part of their yarn store.
All right.
So now they are in like two floors and like 500 square meters of like yarn and fabrics, and I'm like, I'm not complaining. I'm like. And they have these tote bags that have like various Oh my god! Now I'm just losing my thought again. But they have these different like slogans like I knit and I know things and stuff like that, like in these tote bags. And I'm like, I want.
Rachel, I have a yarn store we should go to the next time you come up.
I was gonna ask. There's a place we should
I'm so
go.
jealous though. I want to come up too and visit Bree's house and pet Wally and Soren.
I know. We're gonna go to a hole in the wall science fiction bookstore. There's gonna be a huge plant sale. We're gonna go get yarn. It's gonna be the most on brand trip we could possibly take.
Yeah.
So did you know that there's going to be like there were like 2 new beats announced?
Oh, really? When?
Yeah,
What year?
it was in the Concealand newsletter that 2 new beats have entered the race for like was it 2022 and 2023 or something? I'm not sure. But
I'm
two
pulling
new
up the
beats.
Worldcon bids. Oh man,
One of them is
Jeddah in Saudi Arabia is bidding for 2022.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Is the other one Chicago?
Yeah, the other one is Chicago.
Okay.
And then 2023 is still Chengdu, Memphis, and Nice.
Nice would be fun.
I feel like Memphis is going to win that one.
We'll see. I mean,
maybe it's just that I've heard Claire talk so much about the Nice bid and why it's bad. So I have like a bias.
I will say I don't know that I could do Saudi Arabia and China. That feels like a big ask.
I don't think I would go to either one of those.
From like a political standpoint, I would not go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to support House of Sword in any monetary way, and unfortunately, if you go to Saudi Arabia, you just do that by osmosis by just handing money to stores. You are in essence promoting a totalitarian dictatorship with a capital dick.
It'll be interesting to see where these go, though. I love the idea of doing like an East Asian Worldcon. I think that would probably be a good thing. But
I mean, as long as China is like in terms of for example, if you look at how China is currently dealing with Hong Kong, if you look at how they're basically renouncing Taiwan, even though Taiwan is independent, and China is we don't accept that Taiwan is independent. Taiwan is part of China in China's estimate, and also the fact that they are detaining their Muslim minority in concentration camps and re-educating them and stuff. So I'm like politically speaking, once again, I don't want I love the idea of supporting Chinese fandom and supporting a Chinese Worldcon, but unfortunately, because China is another totalitarian regime and the Communist Party has its clause in every aspect of the bureaucracy there, you can't have a Worldcon in China without basically kissing ass for the Communist Party there. It just won't happen, and it's sad.
I would love them to do one in Seoul.
Oh yeah.
Seoul
Huh?
I said Seoul would be fun.
I think have they done a Seoul before?
No, Japan has had. Japan has had 2, I think.
Well, if anyone ever stumbles across this and you're part of the South Korean fandom, think on that.
Also, like I would like, for example, and like if Russia would consider doing a Worldcon, I would also be like, yeah, because of the gay propaganda laws and basically legalizing domestic violence in the past year.
Yeah.
Like you basically have to be on the receiving end of like severe physical injuries in order to press charges against your partner.
Some of it on just like a slightly more practical level is like there's some places where like I don't know that like the kind of cosplay people like to do would fly.
Yeah, and also like
political topics in panels.
Yeah, and also like when the whole Chengdu thing happened, and like for example, if you think about Jeanette Ng's winning speech for the Astounding Award last year, that would not happen in China.
Yeah,
she could not say that remember Hong Kong and like promote the Hong Kong protests.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just look at what happened when like during BlizzCon, Activision Blizzard actively took prize money from a Korean player because he like made a speech about supporting protests in Hong Kong. So if like big companies in America are so afraid of China's influence and like what would happen if they take a stance against some of the injustices, imagine when you're actually in China.
Oh.
Yeah, so
side
politics
note,
is fun.
Unrelated side note, has anyone seen Picard yet, or is that just me? Am I the only one geeking on that?
You're the only one with Amazon Plus.
It's
or
on
Amazon Prime, sorry.
No, it's on CBS All Access, and my mom pays for it.
Well, we don't have that. I'm waiting for it to come on like a streaming service I have access to in Finland, which we don't currently.
The first episode is rough. The pacing is not amazing in the first episode, but the setup, the concept of it feels so very Picard to me. So like,
I mean, I would watch anything with Patrick Stewart in it. I have watched a lot of bad things with Patrick Stewart in it. And
so
Patrick Stewart usually makes the bad thing a little better.
Yeah. The premise is basically that like the Romulan sun's about like explodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because of an upset with like AI on Mars and some kind of intertangling there, the Federation pulls out of an obligation to rescue a lot of the Romulans in the blast zone of the star. So Picard like rage quits, and 20 years later, this is him like kind of slowly becoming re-entangled into the world that he's left behind because like somebody comes and asks him for help.
So question does this follow the original Next Generation canon, or is this in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe?
TNG.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Don't get me started on J.J. Abrams.
Yeah,
specifically J.J. Abrams with Star Trek.
I liked the first one. Like
the first one was okay.
I liked
everything
the first
after
one, but Into Darkness was not good because it relied on fan nostalgia. The mystery box was dumb, and they had a white man play Khan.
But
I really liked Star Trek Beyond. That one was fun, and it gave me really good Spock and McCoy moments, and I love Jayla, and I love the callback to Sabotage by the Beastie Boys because it is a classic.
That is.
I'm still
classic.
kind of salty that in Beyond they had Idris Elba and they put him in unrecognizable like alien makeup, and I was like, but that's Idris Elba. You get motherfucking Idris Elba and you cover him up in unrecognizable makeup. You are not using your Idris Elba to full advantage.
That's how I feel about X-Men Apocalypse and its failure to properly use Oscar Isaac.
I didn't even realize he was in that movie until after I had watched Apocalypse. I had no idea.
Oscar Isaac's side note, I'm still mad that we got him for Gomez Addams and then we put him in an animated. I put him in animated. I'm like, he is so sexy and the perfect Gomez. What did you do this to me for?
Even I know it. Apocalypse's jawline did look familiar.
It's one of those things where like Oscar Isaac is the pansexual fuckboy of our dreams. Just let us keep him. Exactly the way he is forever.
I mean, my favorite Oscar Isaac movie is still Ex Machina.
I didn't like it.
I liked Ex Machina. Like I okay, I may have some but I went basically the first time I saw Ex Machina, I was on a really bad and atrocious date, and basically my date was horrible, so I might have tried to find things to love in the movie so that I could focus on the movie and not the fact that I was on a date with basically an incel.
Ew.
Yeah. Think about that. It's interesting if you think about the concept of the movie.
I'm also excited that he's going to be in Dune.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to admit I have not read Dune, and I'm also not super enthused because I actually really disliked Blade Runner 2049 because I thought the cinematography was the only good thing about it.
The whole manic pixie dream girl aspects of the new Blade Runner movie were so much.
It was empty. The movie itself was emotionally empty. It was very, very pretty, but it was so I paid money to see this. I wasted hours of my day to see this. And so it kind of put me off the director because I'm visually beautiful, emotionally empty, and I just have no real desire to see other things he's done.
But also, me and my partner watched the original Blade Runner before going to see the new one, and the reframing of the original Blade Runner as some kind of an epic love story rubbed us both the wrong way because we were I'm not sure if that was a good relationship between two consenting adults. I just keep seeing Deckard screaming, "Say you love me," and pushing. Oh my god, I can't remember the woman's name even. Oh my god, but the main female character pushing her against the wall. "Say you love me." That's definitely a sign of a healthy relationship where the other person definitely has all the agency to say no.
The director hated Arrival, guys. Arrival.
But you could say he had better source material with Arrival.
That's true.
I'm going to be honest. I really hated Blade Runner 2049. I thought it was, like I said, very, very pretty, but emotionally empty. And I really
even Ryan Gosling couldn't save that. Also, it has Jared Leto, which is I have such a weird relationship with Jared Leto.
I'm just never gonna get over his weird culty 30 seconds
he has a cult
thing. It's weird. It's super weird and makes me very uncomfortable.
So somewhat related, I always forget until I finish the game, but 30 Seconds from Mars did the closing song for Dragon Age Origins.
I was obsessed with one of their songs back in the day.
Back in my emo phase.
This Is War is the closing song, and I always forget it. And then they had the first song, which is kind of atmospheric and sounds like it belongs to Dragon Age, finishes playing, and then you get the opening to This Is War. I'm I always forget.
But it's so weird. 30 Seconds to Mars is like a time capsule of MySpace condensed into band form.
Yes,
Like
that is the perfect explanation.
Yeah, it's like more MySpace than My Chemical Romance. And now that I've made you think about it, you can't unthink
I
it
will
ever
never
again.
unthink it.
Like I just like every time I hear one of their songs, like I get these flashes of different MySpace pages and the music that would start playing when you visit the pages. Like just like flashes back to like the early 2000s.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued though to see what this Dune looks like. I have a hard time actually reading Dune. So Frank Herbert does this thing with one of the characters, Harkonnen, who's like the bad guy, right? And he's like a big, gross, floaty, slimy dude in I think the Lynch version.
It's fat phobic and homophobic. So
I mean, yes, it is fat phobic and homophobic. But also he does this thing I find really annoying where he like writes out the grumbles. So this guy like grumbles and mumbles a lot where he goes like but like Frank Herbert puts it literally written down instead of being like he mumbles a lot and then like letting me skip that. It's like and here's a line of just it drives me up a wall.
Basically, a cat walked on his keyboard and he didn't feel like editing it out.
Kind of. Which I know
That's
is like
my head
the nitpickiest thing. Like it has nothing to do with the structure of the book or the story. It's just one of those things that like gets under my skin as I read it.
I mean, I've started noticing like there are certain things that if they happen in a book, they will instantly draw me out. And one of them is the line, they released the breath that they were holding and variations of that line, because it's become such a mimetic line in like fiction that it seems like every author is inserting the line there just for the lulz because they know the like pop culture significance of it, and it pulls me out every time because I'm like constantly like, okay, when is it gonna come? When is it gonna happen? Oh, there it is. Fuck. Like, geez. And there are other ones like if an author like has that like repetition of certain things in their work that are constantly like repeats even within the same book, I'm like, George R. R. Martin does this where he will like, for example, I know Illyrio Mopatis is a fat man. I know. I don't need to hear how Illyrio has like huge moobs that sweat under his robes and like and that he has armpit sweat out the wazoo and his belt barely holds on, and I, you know,
we got it
the one time. I don't need the repetition. Unless Illyrio went on like a keto diet and suddenly lost a lot of weight, then that would be significant information for me. You know? But like,
oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of what else is coming out soon. Did anybody see the Lock and Key show, or is that just me?
I was wondering if that was too scary for me to watch.
Oh, I don't think it's
I'm also like waiting.
Scary.
I'm also waiting for like Volt to have some free time so that we can watch it together. Because once again, it's one of those shows where I'm probably going to be hiding under a blanket, and I need them to be able to tell me what is happening on screen.
I didn't think it was terribly scary, but
I wasn't able to. What was the Adventures of Sabrina or something?
The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
That. I watched like the first 3 episodes of the first season, and then I was like, this is boring. Like, this is actively boring to me. Like, it's not exciting. It's not like I was like, eh. So I haven't been able to watch it.
Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the final season started.
Is it new, or is it like like, is it a new thing, like new animation, or is it?
Yeah. So, so Clone Wars had run for 5 seasons on Cartoon Network, and then when Lucasfilm got bought out by Disney, Cartoon Network was like, okay, this is over. And so the season 5 finale kind of worked. But there was also a lot of hanging plot threads. Plus, because they worked, they had such a large lead time for the animation and stuff. They actually had some episodes that were either finished or mostly finished. So they released 13 episodes on Netflix as like the lost missions, and then they had some. They still had unused scripts. They had some animatics, so they released a couple of the animatics story arcs on StarWars.com. They took them down. They've since taken them down because one of the arcs, the Bad Batch arc, is actually getting adapted now. And I saw the arc 5 years ago at the Celebration Anaheim. So it's actually kind of interesting for me seeing like how they've done some changes. But yeah, the animation looks absolutely amazing. Like you can tell that they've spent the time since the Lost Missions, like really perfecting it. And like, I'm really excited to see Ahsoka. The end is going to break my heart. And then in the first 2 episodes, I've already like gotten some great like tragic OT3 feels with Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme. And it's a lot.
Oh my god, I'm still salty about the prequels and how they treated Padme though.
Oh yeah.
So fun fact, we also now have in my house a Monopoly Star Wars Episode 1. It is a chunker. It is like one of the super fancy, like you slide the property cards in one and like has real detailed little figurines for people.
That's amazing.
Just yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Speaking of Monopoly, I recently saw a Monopoly version of like Disney Monopoly with all the Disney characters, and I was like, I walked through the store and I looked at it, and me and partner looked at it, and we were both like, if this isn't like the perfect encapsulation of our times, like Disney Monopoly is so meta in terms of like games, because Disney. So we were like, wow, this is this commentary on our times through Monopoly the game?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
But also Disney is getting money from that, so even more Monopoly.
Yeah.
It's like a pun.
Yeah. But yeah, Clone Wars is out. I'm very excited. I love Clone Wars. And then there's something. Hentified on Netflix. I started that, and it's really funny so far. And also
did anyone? Oh, sorry.
Oh, what did Bree say? I couldn't hear what she said.
It was just a wordless oh.
Yeah. It's set in Boyle Heights in LA, and it's executive produced by America Ferrera, and like I've enjoyed the parts that I've seen so far. I haven't finished it yet.
Okay.
Has anyone seen the new trailer for Tales from the Loop, which is an adaptation of the art book by Simon Stålenhag of the same name?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I'm
gonna look at the art book.
I'll try to find it and link it. But it looked super cool. It basically looks like something like Tales of like Twilight Zone, basically, but more like sci-fi and robotics and stuff.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the other thing that I'm really excited for is the.
I'll drop it in the private chat so you can paste it
Sure.
to the actual chat, because otherwise it will register as spam.
I was gonna say the other thing I'm really looking forward to is the Green Knight adaptation.
Yes.
Oh yes,
With Dev Patel.
Creepy as
I saw the trailer and I was like to my partner, like, we must go see this, and they were like, yes, we shall.
So I had this picture book when I was a little kid of Gawain and the Green Knight, and it was like this beautiful black and white picture book. And I used to make my dad read it to me over and over. And I like grabbed a green marker and ruined this beautiful artwork because it was in black and white. And I was like, but he's green.
It's green.
And I am so excited I'm so excited.
I can't wait. Also, the jacket that Dev Patel wears in that trailer with the gray jacket with the black piping. I was having like a costume design orgasm on that jacket. I'm like, I want to make that. I want to make that jacket.
Beautiful.
It looks amazing. Like,
it's so good.
Just the production design and the costume.
And the editing of that trailer.
I have been just in love with A24 and basically everything they're putting out. It's like the first time they're doing something fantasy. And I'm just like,
sign me up.
Please. Please. Give me more.
I'm like in that weird place where I'm like, it's so interesting. Like, we're living in a time when we're getting more and more like fantasy and sci-fi adaptations than ever before. Like high budget, high quality adaptations.
Yeah.
And it's weird because in my childhood everyone used to make fun of me because like when they thought of fantasy, they thought of the like amazing adventures of Hercules and like that weird show with the magical knight squad who had like these bracelets and then they would like magical curl transform into knights. And they all had like different elements, like there was a blue knight and a red knight, and they also had like dragons that corresponded to their knightly power. It was weird and it was so bad, and I watched every episode.
So
it was something like Knights of Camelot or something. It was something like Knights of Camelot or something like that. I don't remember but it was weird. It was so weird. And so like the CGI was something else.
We
Let me tell you.
We used to get a lot of free reign from our parents when I was growing up to like take whatever we really wanted out of like the movie rental place. And I watched this version of Merlin. It's a mini series.
Is this the one with Sam Neill?
Yes.
Yes.
Over.
Oh my God, I watched that too.
I saw that it's on I think Amazon Prime, and I want to go back and rewatch it. I told my partner, I was like, we have to go and watch that. By we, I mean, I don't care what you do. I'm going to watch it. You just have to be in the house probably. Like, because you live here.
I'll see if I can find the
that and the 10th Kingdom. I watched a lot of the 10th Kingdom over and over and over on VHS. I don't know how my parents put up with me. Like, they're very normie. Like,
we didn't do a whole lot of TV in my house, but it was a lot of for me. So I read a lot.
mm-hmm.
And I read a lot of fantasy and a lot of mysteries, and my moms would like pre-screen my mysteries to make sure it wasn't too gory, but they never did that with my fantasy ones. And so like I was like, in grade 8 reading Arrows to the Queen and Magic's Pawn and all like the really rapey Mercedes Lackey books. And my mom's like, I guess we're like, oh, there's horses on it. That can't be too bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I bought a lot of those old rapey Mercedes Lackey books, and they're now staring at me from my TBR shelf because the covers had magical white ponies. I can't say no to magical white ponies.
I will
I
say
think it's so weird because I self-censored as a kid. My parents never even looked at what I was reading. They're like, Rachel's not going to read anything that would make her feel uncomfortable, so whatever.
I mean,
except for Dragon Riders of Purring, because I was definitely kind of interested in a couple of the books that had the more rapey stuff in it. And yeah.
I will say for that in terms of Mercedes Lackey, By the Sword still holds up. I reread it last year, and Carowin is still a babe.
I mean, I'm thinking of the time like my mom was like, it's so weird because my mom was really strict about what we could watch, and my dad was the complete opposite, where he was like, okay, I guess I want to watch Terminator now, but I have to babysit the kids. Come and hang out with me on the sofa, children. And then we would watch Terminator under adult supervision. I think I was like 7 years old when I first saw the Terminator. And no, we didn't have any conversations about themes or how things worked or why things happened the way they did.
The first time I saw Temple of Doom, I was probably like 5. I remember it was the first time I got to stay up late, and my dad fell asleep in the middle of it. And I remember sitting there horrified as the guy, like, not the first time the guy tries to pull the heart out of someone, right? Like,
yeah,
the time when like Indiana Jones is hanging onto the bridge and the guy's gonna pull his heart out while he's hanging off the bridge. I was so scared.
For me, it's like, it's weird because one of the scariest movies I remember, like, it wasn't Terminator, it wasn't Predator, it was Beauty and the Beast. And the scene where Belle's father has just arrived in the castle, and he's having like the servants are serving him the dishes and stuff like that, and there's this impending doom, like what's gonna happen, and then the beast arrives and takes him away. I was so scared that I went to sit in a corner. There was this like we had like these 2 couches, and there was this little corner between the couches, and I went to sit there so I couldn't see the screen because I was so scared of the beast in that scene.
Right, yeah.
But it was so weird.
Well, so for me, it was The Lion King. So when I was like 4 or 5, we went to go see it in the theaters, and you know, you get the circle of life, all the animals are happy, it's great, and then you see the little mouse, it's running along, and then wham, Scar's paw. I had an open thing of M&Ms. Like 6 inches out of my seat, everywhere, and then refused to go back in the theater.
That's probably like the first jump scare that ever got me.
Well, and then we got it on VHS, and for years I would fast forward through the elephant graveyard scene. And so my mom was like, yeah, it took like 4 years for us to finally watch the entire movie.
But it's also weird, like how much a child's mind will like self-censor stuff. Because, for example, when I watched like The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the Disney movie, I completely blocked out the fact that Frollo is a rapey, murderous bastard. Like, I knew he was the bad guy, but I was like, well, he doesn't like Quasimodo, and he's kind of a racist. That's like the extent of the horribleness of the situation that I got from him. But all of the like sexual innuendo in like Hellfire went completely over my head. I was like, well, he must be in love or something. But I didn't catch the whole like the thing.
Yeah.
Also like 6-year-old me was like completely on board with Jasmine getting together with Jafar, because Aladdin was a jobless bum, and at least Jafar had an actual high-paying job. And why wouldn't Jasmine want to marry Jafar? And my mom still tells me this story because I was like, I was apparently watching the movie and I was having like a pouty lip or something, and then we would pause it and my mom would be like, what's wrong? And like I would be like, but Aladdin doesn't even have a job.
So
Hot takes with Baby Rhea.
speaking of like not remembering stuff, so we when I was little, my mom would refuse to watch The Great Mouse Detective because we had been visiting family in Phoenix and I caught the chicken pox. So my mom was stranded in a hotel room with 2-year-old me, and the only VHS available was The Great Mouse Detective. So like she couldn't watch it for years, understandably. So we rewatched it over the holidays, and that movie is really weird. Like there's it is like very gay. Like it is, I think, one of the gayest Sherlock Holmes I have seen.
I mean, Basil has a portrait of Rattigan in his living room.
Portrait of Rattigan on his mantelpiece.
Yes.
There's an entire song that Rattigan composes about how he captured Basil and how he's going to kill Basil. And it's like, Rattigan, that's very gay.
Yeah. It's like they are ex-boyfriends.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they are complete ex-boyfriends. And they can't get over each other.
But the other thing is, the entire time we were watching it, Mom was like, this is so much more horrifying than I remember, because there's like a part...
The end scene in the Big Ben is seriously horrifying.
Well, so I actually remembered that part, but I'm talking about where, like near the beginning, where Rattigan's having his first villain song about how he wants his first villain song, and there's a mouse that's like very, very drunk.
Yeah.
And that mouse gets eaten alive by a cat in the middle of the song, and then they go back to singing. And it's like, oh my God.
Like, think about the times when Disney villains had a first villain song.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you have Vincent Price as your villain, like, you're gonna give him
true.
as many villain songs as he wants.
The thing that always
I
gets
love that
me
movie, though.
When I look back at like the childhood things I liked is like I make so much more sense because everything I loved had Tim Curry in it. Like just inexplicably, like I'll like be like, do you remember this movie when we were kids? And I'll like look it up on IMDb. I'll be like, Tim Curry again.
Fern Gully, Legend. Like he's in so many.
Worst Witch.
I haven't seen that. Fern Gully was very formative to me.
Fern Gully. He's the organ in The
Horrible Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, the Enchanted Christmas. He's the organ, which I was like mildly obsessed with, which is a weird thing. Like here's this like made for movie straight to VHS sequel to Beauty and the Beast that I was just like in love with. But I feel like every time there's something, I look back and I'm like, oh, Tim Curry again. How are you, sir?
Adrian says that my little brother used to watch Terminator and the Indiana Jones movies and Starship Troopers a lot at 7 to 8. He is fine. I still haven't seen most of those all the way, though, cause scary and gore. I have a story about Starship Troopers because I saw it way too young, and it has... Like, I have a huge fear of ticks because of that movie. Like, the huge, like, brain tick. Like, I saw nightmares of that, and I still can't watch those scenes, like, to this day, of that movie where the brain bug is shown because it's a tick. And I'm like, ticks are the worst. I can't.
Ticks are the worst, though. In fairness, you're not wrong. The weirdest one that I've never finished is Ever After.
Oh, I love that movie.
I can't bring myself to watch after the part where they tear her wings off at the like ball. And I know that there's only like 15 minutes left, but I have still to this day never watched those 15 minutes.
I love Ever After so much.
I love it too. it's still one of my mom always like asks after it, like, do you have that Ever After movie? We used to have it on VHS. Do you have that? And now I'm trying to search for a DVD or Blu-ray copy that has Finnish subtitles so I can gift it to my mom because it's one of her favorite movies.
Oh.
Aw.
Yeah.
But she can't understand English very well, so like I can't just get a regular English copy.
Yeah. I love Ever After. It's such a good one.
It's such a great thing. Also, I want to show you the things because last weekend was the event that I was designing the badges for.
Yes.
And now I can finally show them off because the event is over. First of all, I designed the lanyard.
That's the bracelet.
The bracelet.
Ooh.
It has like, because it was the first day was on like Valentine's Day, so it has like pixel hearts and stuff. And then I have this was the like user badge.
Oh, with the heart. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's someone in it.
Yeah. Every
I can
badge
hear
has
someone,
like character art.
It sounds like there's a cat in the background with a bell collar. Well, that's
And
pretty.
then this one was for like speakers. And this one.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah. These are
And
cool.
then
Yeah.
this one.
Ooh.
And then I have the one with the lights.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Cool.
And it shows my nickname in the thing. Well, Walt is, by the way, like right on my shoulder. Yeah.
Load different kinds of programs onto them. Like this was one of the essentially
Like
the
a
most
rainbow
popular
thing.
ones.
Yeah.
Little
But
light.
I was like, I need to show the thing off now because I worked so hard. I
know,
so
I remember.
Did you show the lanyard?
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a year's worth of work. Yeah.
Very it was very good.
Yeah, and I got talked into making next year's art as well.
No.
or I rather talked myself into making it
Did you show
because I
this?
can't say no. But yeah. So,
Oh my goodness, that's so cool though.
oh, I apparently didn't show the lanyard. This is the other art, and it has like this like part of this portrait, and it's like split between four. So you'd have like four people and they would put their lanyard together, and it would form the full picture.
Oh, that's really cool.
Wow.
That's a really cool idea. I wish we had more cons in like my area.
So there are a lot of conventions in the United States. It's just that most of them always seem to be like 600 miles away.
Yeah. I also think I maybe accidentally scared the local convention people by writing an email to their board.
Ooh.
That it was the most PTA mom I have ever sounded.
How did it go?
I'm pretty sure that the president like thinks I'm out to get him now.
I mean,
Which president? Like the president of the convention or the president of the United States? Because the other one is worrying, or more worrying than the other.
Oh, the president of the convention. I haven't been to
okay.
Wisconsin, Shannon, but actually I am kind of ironically helping out with Wisconsin in their VP slot right now.
I would like.
They had a bit of a dearth on their board.
Jerry from Onyx Pages has made me want to attend WizCon at some point in my life. Like that's on the bucket list now.
You could fly into Minneapolis. I'll pick you up. We'll go to the science fiction bookstore, and then we'll like drive into WizCon.
Well,
it's totally doable.
Well, don't tempt me. I might just do that. Not this year, though. Maybe next year. Who knows? I mean,
just saying that
next year you don't have to leave the US as much because Worldcon is also in the US.
I know. You could meet Soren and Wally.
I want to meet Soren and Wally, though. Especially Wally.
You could come meet them.
And the bunny.
Also your chickens.
I know. My menagerie.
Maybe you'll have a goat.
I still love the fact that my friend's dad, they started like taking in forced like rescue chickens for like
yes.
To have them like lay eggs and stuff. And he was like, well, when the chickens stop laying eggs, we will just eat them. But then he got so emotionally attached to all of the chickens that once they started like, you know, like once they become old and they die, he just buries them and makes them a little grave in the back garden, which is like
they're just
cute.
So much fun to have. They're just like when I go around gardening and they just like follow me around with their little chicken walk.
And apparently there are like different, like, I didn't know there are like different types of like chicken personalities, because like there are these like huge like egg laying chickens that are kind of bred to like be really like lay a lot of eggs. And my friend said that they're like super like kind of stupid and they're not scared of anything. And
they're
they
very dumb.
follow you around and they're kind of dumb. But then the like Finnish heritage chicken breed, they're like super cunning and kind of like wily, and they make pranks and they are kind of like really sassy.
Are they? Is that like? Are those Icelandic?
No, there is this. It's a Finnish heritage chicken, basically. It's a Finnish breed, and it's a Finnish breed of chicken. And they are like infamous basically for hiding eggs.
Land race. Sorry, I'm finding out more about chickens now.
Yeah, yes. But they're like infamous for making like duplicate nests in order to like hide eggs from you and like make sure that you're not finding their eggs. And also like they're like not so eager to follow people around. They're kind of doing their own thing and they're more independent, and you can teach them tricks.
So I'm looking them up and it looks like they're, in the US we call them Icelandics, but they're super cold hardy and they're like super cunning.
Yeah.
And they're also like, they're visually very like different from one another. Like no two of them really looks too much alike. Yeah,
it's because they're like, what's the genetics of that breed is so varied.
Yeah,
they're not very like inbred.
Yeah,
a lot of the one used in like egg production or like, you know, in farming are like unfortunately a little. they're like they're like the pugs of the chicken world.
Yeah. To clarify, I am not looking for a goat anytime soon.
You say that now, but we're gonna come in like 2 months, and it'll be like, I gotta go.
I have a tenth of an acre in the city. Goat. I can't fit a goat on my lot. I am maybe in the process of making my dream quail coop, but that's a different story.
I mean, but I've seen your yard. Just take a little bit like out of the corner there and you will have a beautiful little goat pen eventually. But you can't get just one goat, you need to get two because they're very social animals and they need like, because if you get only one, then it will start like making a ruckus and a menace because of like
they'll be lonely.
Yeah, they need a lot of like what's the word in English? Like I
Social
can't,
stimulation.
yeah,
I do have
stimulation.
Muscovy duck. Sorry. I'm responding to comments. So I have a Muscovy duck. Her name is Tennyson. I didn't name her. She came named that way from a local lady who was a freelance writer who I went to go get some chickens from, and she was like, how do you feel about ducks? And I was like, I don't know how I feel about ducks. She was like, I can drop a duck off when I drop my daughter off at this thing called D&D. I don't know if you've ever heard about that. And I was
Oh my
like,
God.
everything
When did you
about
get a
this story.
duck? When did you get a duck?
August?
Why haven't I seen this duck?
It's hard to go out and take pretty pictures of my duck when it's cold.
Aw, you need to bring them indoors.
I don't think that's good for them in the winter.
Aw.
And I have heard about pygmy goats, but they're not actually as small as you think. They're about the size of a small mid-sized dog.
They're basically like the pygmy dog is kind of like the teacup pig.
Yeah,
Like,
a little bit.
people always like assume that the teacup pig is it fits in a teacup, and no, they grow to be really huge. And if you're not ready to like have a standard sized hog inside your house, then you probably shouldn't get a pet pig.
Yeah, don't do it really.
Pet pigs would be really cool though, honestly. I would get a pet pig. Because basically a pet pig would be like getting a dog, except less allergies.
They're also really smart.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
They're smarter than dogs.
A lot smarter. A lot smarter. And I mean, before we have our own yard, I can't get a pet pig though.
I'm excited for the day when you can get a pet pig.
I'd want a pet pig. I don't know how partner would feel about it though, because he likes to eat pork, and pork is one of their favorite things. So I don't know how they would feel about having a pet pig and then also eating pork. I think there would be an emotional disconnect. But you know, I'd like a pet pig, and I don't like to eat pork, so it's a win-win for me.
Should we talk about what's upcoming on each of our channels?
Sure. Want to go first?
Sure. So I should have coming up, I'm behind schedule, but I'm going to be doing the BookTube SFF Babbles again. I need to film that and get that up. I'm hoping to get my review of Sisters of the Vast Black up. And then I'm thinking about doing a Kindle tour. I've been thinking about this one for a while. Where like I take you through all of the Kindle books I have and all of the like e-arcs I have, and then you guys can see my shame of things I haven't read.
Oh, did anybody watch Read Susie Reed's channel back in the day before she quit booktubing?
Yes.
She was the first person I ever saw who did the whole like ebook Kindle tour thing. And she was amazing. You should do that.
I can't do an ebook Kindle tour. It would I would die of shame. There's so many books. So many books.
Yeah, I don't want to even think about how many unread.
I had the trouble. I got the Kindle and then I was like, yay, I'm getting to be an e-reader. Like I will read all of the ebooks. And then I figured out that actually e-reading is just not a format that works for me. So yeah.
Okay, who else?
But I would watch the hell out of that. So do make the video, please. Hey, Mosfet.
Mosfet?
Will you say hello? Will you say hello?
Say hello to you.
No, don't run. Don't run. Don't run! No!
Baby!
Hey, you little void, you.
He's already like, no, I want to go away. I don't want to be here. Yes. Oh, God. I also have another problem with ebooks. which is the fact that especially if you buy them off Amazon, Humble Bundle is better in a sense because you get the ebooks DRM free. But with Amazon, you're not actually buying the ebook; you're just renting them. And if Amazon decides that they don't want to, have the ebook in their catalog anymore, you've paid for it, and it's gone, and you can't access it anymore because Amazon is the worst. And
Amazon.
Yeah, the DRM is like melting my brain every time I think about it, so I try not to think about it.
Okay, who else? What else is coming up?
Rachel?
I need to read SF Masterworks and start reviewing them, basically. So I kicked off my project to do that, and so
we need to hold you accountable now.
Yes. So, and I'm supposed to be starting my Tiptree / otherwise award project in the next month or two as well. And so basically I have book reviews stacking up, but at the rate I'm going, I only have time to film 2 videos per week. So it's like, I have to choose.
But isn't that the best problem to have, that you have so much content planned out that you're actually having to pick and choose when to post them? That's the best problem to have. The worst one is when you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do in the near future.
Yeah. Yes. I wish that I could do my 3 videos per week schedule that I did for how I managed that for like the first 2-3 years of my channel. I do not know, but I don't have the time to film videos anymore. I have like a 2-hour window on Sunday mornings when I can film, and that's it. So if it doesn't get done then it doesn't get done. But anyway, that's the behind the scenes problem. I will eventually be pushing review videos out the door.
So I made a video Kanban board on my bullet journal, which has basically helped me a lot when it comes to coming up with a schedule and what to do with various videos. And for the past 3 weeks, I've had videos scheduled before and they're subtitled before they go out. And I've been like, wow, I'm super productive. Thank God I'm procrastinating with videos instead of writing my thesis. This is surely
on board
Yeah, I have another Kanban board for my thesis because I use Trello. Next week, 3 pages per day. I will do this. I will conquer the thesis.
You will get it done. Yep.
If anyone wants to read in Finnish about automated vehicles and using pre-existing infrastructure to get automated vehicles running in your country, my thesis will probably be published in early June.
I would totally read that if it was in English. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, unfortunately, it will be in Finnish. But anyway, now is the perfect time for Rachel to start learning Finnish.
Let me recover some of my Spanish first, and then I'll start thinking about the languages.
Yes. Think about all of the weird science fiction you could start reading if you knew how to speak Finnish, though.
All the Risto Isomaki books and Johannes Inisawa.
Yes. all of those. Suddenly, one day you will just wake up and there will be a parcel on your front door, and it will just be huge amounts of Finnish weird short story collections that I've sent your way. Here, read these.
Okay, well, Di, got anything coming up?
I need to do a book haul at some point to partially shame myself and partially move the books from my living room to their permanent home on my bookshelf. And then maybe also doing the BookTube SFF Babbles, but I'm just kind of playing it by ear at this point.
I'm loving the fact with the Babbles that Cass put up the schedule for the Babbles, and basically everyone has already done the reaction, even though the schedule says that it's supposed to come up in like early March, and everyone's like, we did it already. Like I did it almost the same day when the shortlist came up. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it now. Like if it's a reaction video, why would you react like 3 weeks after the fact?
Do they have it scheduled for like when the read-alongs begin or something?
Yeah.
Because I haven't paid attention to the schedule.
Yeah, something like that.
I feel bad because I'm not actually doing the Babbles this year, but like I said, I only have so much time to film. I'm like, do I do reviews or do I do Babbles?
Like I'm doing some of them. I'm also like branching out a little bit regarding my channel. Like I decided that okay, I'm going to start doing like more single book reviews, but also more single manga reviews, like reviewing like series and stuff. And I'm also having like more manga related videos coming up. I have like how to get into manga is going to be one of the videos that I'm going to be putting out in like
That's a good one.
Yeah, and stuff. Yeah, so I'm like leaning into my weebness this year.
Okay. So if we're good here, I think we're coming up on that 2-hour mark.
I'm really hungry. I need to go get a snack.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to go eat something.
I have like the last bit of sushi bowl left in the fridge, so I will go eat that.
Yeah, I need to go eat something and go grocery shopping before the rain starts again.
Eat something first. Grocery shopping when you're hungry is a bad idea.
It is. I'm gonna find something in my apartment to eat.
Yeah, when you go grocery shopping when you're hungry, you just end up with a lot of chocolates and candies. Speaking from experience, I don't know how it's for everyone else.
Yeah.
I actually don't buy chocolate, mostly because I tend not to keep a lot of sweets in my apartment.
Yeah.
You have more like determination and grit than I do.
It's honestly mostly because I didn't grow up with having a lot of sweets around the house, so it's not something I always like. Yeah, it's not something that I do unless it's conscious.
Yeah.
Like me neither. Probably the reason why I started, like, back when I was a kid, we didn't have like much of any like sweets at the house at all. Then we moved to the capital city, and suddenly we had like a shopping mall and grocery stores right next to the. Like it wasn't this huge ordeal that you'd had to drive like 50 kilometers to the nearest store. So suddenly I was like eating all of the candy because it was easy access.
My parents' rule when I was growing up was you can have the sweets, but you have to make them yourself. And for a really long time, that it slowed it down. Like you had to bake the brownies if you wanted to eat the brownies, and you couldn't just go out and buy ice cream. You had to make stuff. But now I'm a pretty good baker, and I can just get up at like midnight and whip myself up some muffins in 20 minutes, and that it's no longer an obstacle.
Your parents sound like my partner, and it's annoying because every time I'm like, I want to go and buy a frozen pizza because I want something quick, and they're like, okay, we can make pizza, and I'm like, no. That's
my parents are the
what I
type
want.
of people that they don't buy crackers. My mom makes crackers. My mom doesn't have a cookie jar. She has a cracker jar. And whenever I go into their house, now keep in mind, they live 2 blocks away from me, so I can go over to their house whenever I want to. I walk into the house and I make a beeline for the kitchen, and my mom's like, "You're going for the cracker jar again, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yes."
I mean, this reminds me that I need to like go to the grocery store tomorrow to stock up on some more cake stuff because Maya is coming to my house on Monday, and I promised her some cheesecake. So
Oh my gosh.
I need to actually make the cheesecake.
All right, we need to stop talking about
cookies
food because I'm literally like ridiculously hungry right now.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Next time, the Stitch and Bitch will be on
Claire's
channel. And yes, say hi to Maya for us all, Freya.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.